in depth on the issues that matter most to voters.
And this week we are focusing on reproductive rights, which has quickly become a major issue in the presidential race. Joining us now is Steve Schmidt, founder of the Warning Podcast and Scripps News contributor. Good morning to you, sir. So since 2022, when the Supreme Court overturned Roe, we have seen voters turn out for ballot issues related to reproductive rights. It's proved to be a big winner for Democrats in places like Wisconsin, Michigan, and even ruby red Kansas. How significant will this issue be come November?
I think it has the potential to be an enormously significant issue. Let me say that with a caveat. The protests that we're seeing with young people that are shutting down commencement addresses are not over the issue of abortion. So the intensity is not in the streets. Let's see if it's at the ballot box. But there is a test on the ballot, and it's extremism. You have some abortion laws that are taking women back to 1864, for example, in the state of Arizona. So all over the country, the worst case scenarios on these issues have all come to pass. And so increasingly in the society, what you see is a two-tiered America, where an iron curtain, if you will, has come down, separating women who have autonomy over their bodies from the American women that don't in the states that have taken it away. I do think it needs to be pointed out that just days ago, Donald Trump talked about that he would be open to laws that would monitor pregnant women. Full stop. What does that mean, to monitor pregnant women? I think it can only mean one thing, and it's that all women who are pregnant must be suspected of desiring at some level of consideration to terminate their pregnancies. And therefore, if there's a miscarriage or anything that happens, they're a suspect in a criminal action. What else could it mean? So this is an extreme debate in America, and one that one would expect as we move into convention season is going to pick up a lot of steam rolling into November.
And to be fair, Trump said during another one of his campaigns he would be open to punishing women who got one, which made a huge headline at the time. Then he slowly backed away from that. So this is a landmine issue, and it would seem for Republicans. When it goes to a vote of the people, they have not done well. And in the same breath, Donald Trump wants to take credit for the Supreme Court and his 3 justices who overturned Roe, but now says, hey, I want to leave it to the states. I'm just curious why Republicans keep returning and stumbling with an issue that is a proven loser for them in the last 2 years. And where does what's happening on the street not meet national political strategy?
In the end, who turns out to vote is what matters. And the reality is that few people turn out to vote in the party primaries, but people who are deeply committed to some of the most extreme positions in the country do turn out. And we have a political system where most members of Congress are completely insulated from what would be the mean point between right and left of public opinion, because our system allows the politicians to pick their voters as opposed to the other way around. And the result of that is a system where opinion of the voter in the majority, in the aggregate of the full society, has been deeply discounted. And the choice at hand between the two sides, increasingly through the prism of the American voter, is the lesser of two evils, or what side can I pick to punish the people I don't like in the country with increasingly antagonistic policies, which are the foundation of the campaign, and certainly the foundation of Donald Trump's revenge and retribution campaign. So all of this is playing out. The parties are yoked to their extremes, and the extremes are indifferent to the popularity of the issue, because the recipe to winning these elections is increasingly intensity, plus enough indifference to get over the majority line or close enough in a plurality election to take the win. And remember, the last election and the one before that were settled by tens of thousands of votes across a handful of counties, across a very few number of states. And the next one is going to be like the last two.
And real quick here, Steve, red states have clearly taken a lot of action in state legislatures since the fall of Roe. Last week, Florida becoming the latest state to implement one of those highly restrictive abortion bans, going from 15 weeks to 6 weeks, which is before a lot of women don't even know they're even pregnant. Are Democrats doing enough to highlight this issue?
We'll see as we come to the election. There are billions of dollars that are spent in the campaigns, and you have to think about this like an iceberg. Most of what you see above the surface is only a small mass of the iceberg. Most of it is below the water, and that's where a presidential campaign is taking place. So this is where the Biden cash advantage plays out. The targeting online, television ads, at every conceivable level, America's women voters should be being reached out to on this issue, and should be being framed in a way that makes sense to the broad majority that, hey, you're losing control. Also, there's a cohort of American women that this falls and impacts disproportionately. And that's a group of women that have a lot in common, but we don't see it that way. We don't talk about it that way. And that's poor white women and poor black women, who disproportionately are impacted by these bans in these states, because they don't have the option necessarily to drive 600 miles out of state. They don't have the option to get on an airplane and to fly to a state where women have full equality in the society. So these issues are going to play out at a political level below the surface, but also on top of the water. And we'll see the vice president be a star in that, and we'll see, I suspect, that this will be a dominant issue at the Democratic National Convention that renominates the president in August.
Thank you for pointing out, too, Steve. Sometimes the common denominator of poverty in America above race and education. That is sometimes it gets lost in all the other debates that we have. Steve Schmidt, founder of the Warning podcast, and of course a Scripps News contributor as well. Appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you.
Well, just like politics.